Hey, what's up, y'all? MMA Toad here. I'm going to break down UFC Saudi Arabia. Kicked off with a doozy, by the way. Holy shit. What a robbery. Anyways, I'm going to go through the entire card, giving a breakdown. And, yeah, overall, not a very exciting card, but a couple key things that happened that were very nonetheless surprising. So, here we go. Kicking things off. And I apologize, I'm sick, so if I sneeze and I'm sounding like an alligator, that's why. Kicking things off, Ham Sandwich, old Ham D, took on Pierogies, Jamal Pogues. My boy got robbed. He literally, in some eyes, won the fight all three rounds. I at least had him 2-1. If you gave Hamdi the first round with the takedown and the peppering shots, fine. Hamdi scored a total of 19 strikes in that first round. Right? They were just small peppering shots as Jamal was trying to get to his feet, and he had the one takedown. That's the only takedown he attempted the entire fight. He seemed like he was gassed after that. Kid you not, for round 2 and 3, he sat there froze and received a decision from His Majesty because he's fighting in Saudi Arabia and he's from Egypt. So Jamal got robbed. I did have Hamdi, so I'm not sitting here trying to act salty like, oh man, I lost a bunch of bets or whatever. No, it actually favored me that he won. I'm just saying it's bullshit because it's bad for the sport. All right, moving up the card. I broke this fight down. I said it was going to be kind of interesting to see how it plays out. Lucas Alexander with the better striking, but with this kryptonite grappling, Bogdan's known in that area, and that's exactly how it played out. First round, nice little back and forth, but favoring Alexander. The striking was looking solid. He did reach out for the fence and, cheated there like 3 or 4 times. But in my honest opinion, if you're not cheating, you're not trying, because even though all the fighters know the rules going into the fights, there's never points deducted, and it just gives consecutive warning, and that's it. So yeah, Bogdangrad won the fight. Got a nice submission on Lucas, and we move up the card. Next, Jasmine Jasudavicius taking on Bueno Silva. I really thought that Jasmine could be the first to submit Silva, give her that first loss via submission. Had Silva on the ground numerous times throughout this fight, working in hard ground and pound, opening up that scar tissue that Silva is obviously known for due to that doctor stoppage. Silva, rather than fighting out of a lot of these situations, would always look up and argue with the official or ask the official for help in the fight, which is just never a good sign. It was clear that as she's on the stool, chugging bunch of water, pouring water on her head, that she just didn't know how to deal with Jasmine, and rightfully so. I think Jasmine, with this fight, she should be at least maybe a fight or 2 away from getting to that title shot. But I do see her eventually getting it. So very happy to see Jasmine win there. And at this point in the card, I'm 2 for 3. Moving up the card, Terrence McKinney took the time, redialed the strategy, changed some camps, now training on a Fusion XL with Mike Davis and Lucas Alexander you just saw on the card. And one thing we know about Terrence is he's gonna go out there on his fucking shield regardless. He's gonna either hit an impressive knockout or submission, or be the one to typically get knocked out. He's never seen a judge, and it showed to be true just as much in today's fight with Demir. I knew that Terrence was either gonna get a first or second round finish. I wasn't sure if it was going to be by submission or knockout, so I just took distance under a round and a half via submission knockout, double method. So we were very secured there. Nonetheless, I'm happy to see him get the win. I know he needed this one to get back on the win column, and very happy for him as well. So big fan of Terrence McKinney. I can only hope that we start to get into higher opponents, obviously get back into some rankings, top 15 for sure. I like fighters that go out there and they're gonna hunt for a finish and for sure guarantee the win and not let it be up to the hands of judges. So always excited for a Terrence McKee fight. Moving up the card, we had Shamil Gaziev taking on Thomas the Train Peterson. He was kind of screwed in this fight, right? Gaziev, he was going to either get a decision from His Majesty more than likely, But seeing that this guy has good grappling, has pretty powerful striking from what we've seen with a lot of first round finishes. Thomas's best shot was to be on the feet and hit the big money shot. Gaziev made quick work of Thomas, big right hand, sent him to the Shadow Realm. So yeah, Gaziev, he's gonna start to work into top 15, top 10, start to get better opponents, and yeah, I expect to always hit at least the under 2.5 round prop. I don't always know round and a half. It seems like as the level of opposition increases, we could see him go more into the second round. So anyways, got that one right there as well. So at this point, we've missed just Lucas. Now on my long shot parlays, by the way, I did have Bogdan, so technically all my long shots are firing away at this point, and it continues to ride as we go up to Mohammed Naimov taking on Kangaskhan Afli. I said that in the breakdown that Afli's best shot is going to be grappling. But yeah, Mohammed's kind of interesting, right? He has moments where he has Khan rocked, but rather than finishing up with more flurries, he would go for a takedown. And right, I feel like Mohammed could have possibly finished Afli, but hey, took him to the ground, rode out, top control, peppering down more shots, easy decision. To no one's surprise, he gets that one there. All right, so here's one of the fights that really surprised the shit out of me. Moving up, like I said, fighting out of Fusion XL, Mike Davis, a very well-rounded fighter that we've seen historically. Had some time away, a bit of that octagon rust. Takes on Farias Zaim, who's known for that highlight KO, that big knee against Frivola. But nonetheless, the fight starts with Mike Davis initiating with some boxing, and right away goes to pull guard, goes to butterfly, does like a shoulder crusher, starts kind of working away around. It demonstrates very early in this fight that he's going to lean on his jiu-jitsu to win the fight. I initially picked Mike Davis to win this fight because I thought that having the full tool belt, the skills in the striking department, the solid crisp boxing, solid cardio and so forth, he was going to be able to mix things up and find the opportunities to take Zaim to the ground. And sure enough, he just kept finding himself in the position where more times than not, he's on the bottom end of this, trying to get some things going. Zaim surviving for the most part pretty well, not taking a ton of damage, ends up hitting a huge, I think it was like a knee off the side of the octagon there in the second round. Tons of blood gushing from Mike Davis. So there's about the most blood we've seen. Some of the only blood we've seen the whole night. But nonetheless, going into the third round, Davis's corner is very frank with him. Like, hey, man, we need this finish. He ends up having the knee of Zaim kind of hooked. And it looked like he was going to go for a choke there. And Davis had all kinds of opportunities on the ground to get the job done, but I get it. The blood, it's a little slippery. At this point, you've been wearing the last, almost 15 minutes into the fight. You're not the same guy you were at the start of it. So he ends up finally getting top control over Zaim and starts peppering some huge shots. And mind you, when they were on the feet, Davis, anytime he would box, you would just see Zaim's head just ping all the way back and have huge reactions to the power of Mike Davis. I thought the boxing, had he done it more throughout the fight and not leaned on trying to take the fight down to the ground, he actually could have been the victor. But nonetheless, when Mike Davis was finally on top towards the end of the third round, busts Zaim open, starts to give Zaim a taste of his own medicine there. But at this point, the fight's already over, and Zaim takes that. I was surprised again just to see the strategy of Mike Davis want to be to immediately take the fight to the ground and pull guard versus try to initiate some of those boxing exchanges and find the opportunities for the takedown. Moving up the card, kind of another surprise. Breaking down tape on Vincius Oliveira. He doesn't have the craziest takedown defense. And a lot of times he's being taken down, but he's able to get right back up and resumed through the fight, and he's definitely able to eat shots, and that remains very true through this fight. The opener, Saeed, having so much momentum, crowd chanting his name, hitting that infamous spinning back kick that he's been known for, having all kinds of success, chopping very early to the legs of Oliveira, knocking him off his feet to his ass. I mean, it was, from what we could see in that very beginning of the first round, like, man, Saeed's going to make quick work. Oliveira is a gamer. His cardio holds through. Funny enough, Saeed's the one starting to gas and wear throughout this fight as he's not able to put Oliveira away. Oliveira is finding his own success with his own shots, his own kicks, and just continuously is the one that's coming forward. And Saeed is just slowly turning around during their exchanges, and it starts to be clear that Oliveira going into this third round is the one that has a lot of the momentum and ends up getting the decision. So was surprised to see Saeed gas as much as he did, but also not be able to have as much success in the takedown department to hunt for the submissions. He's got a decent guillotine or in Darce choke, so was just, again, surprised not to be able to see the execution from the grappling or even just the striking come through for him there. Moving up, very surprised to see this heavyweight bout between Sergey Pavlovich and Jairzinho Rozenstruik go the distance. I expected the typical Sergey death touch first round, second round at the latest, or throughout the fight, Jairzinho finding his shots, using kickboxing, not wanting to brawl with Sergey, not wanting to be in an exchange of power because, in all fairness, Sergey is probably going to win that with most of the heavyweight division, minus Tom Aspinall, but utilize more of the kicks, more of the calf kicks especially, and just kind of hunt at range and seek the opportunities to pounce. Rozenstruik seemed kind of froze out there. He wasn't really matching the output of Sergey, and every time Sergey would hit a big shot, would just kind of lay over the top of Rozenstruik not able to get up. This happened throughout the entire fight until the very end of the third round, being constantly pressured by, I think it was Mark Smith, constantly reminding him, like, hey guys, stay busy, stay busy. Rozenstruik finally gets to his feet, but the fight's over. They each had opportunities in this fight to put each other away. Sergey obviously playing it a little smarter because, hey, I don't need to be the one taking the risk when I already have 2 rounds in my back pocket. Sergey, was just simply better, and the output here shows quite easily that the exchanges and takedowns were just, it's so much more in the favor of Sergey Pavlovich. So impressive win there. The prop had Sergey, I noticed, plus 1,100 by decision. I did have that. However, I was very greedy and had that parlayed with a couple other things that we'll get into here. So moving into these final 2 fights. So next, Striker's Delight between Shara Bullet Makhmedov taking on Michael Venom Page. I had Shara Bullet in this being the proper 185. Venom Page recognizing that he was going to have length and speed. I thought Shara Bullet was going to exchange more frequently and, work off that body kick that, funny enough, he did have success with in this fight, but be able to answer it with something more. Spinning back fist, the elbows, just simple combinations. Shara Bullet didn't really use his hands much. Till the third round, you'll notice he did a little more and found success, was catching MVP. But at this point, MVP, had styled on Shara, had avoided most shots, was looking really clean and crisp and composed throughout this one, and did a good job of shutting down anything from Shara Bullet by clinching up and taking away his ability to do work when he did engage. MVP loading up on a right hand, closing the space. He hit this about 10 times throughout the fight. Shara Bullet was neither showing significant damage or getting dropped or anything, but it definitely frazzled him and caused him to lose this fight. So MVP takes Shara Bullet's O, and is pretty smooth on the mic afterwards as per usual. So MVP's in a good spot right now in the middleweight and could make for some better matchmaking here. Moving up the card, and honestly, someone I think, if not Kyle Borralho next, MVP should be fighting, Israel Adesanya. Moving into the main event, Nasruddin Imavov shocks pretty much everyone. I thought for sure if he was to beat Israel Adesanya, it would have to be by submission. As throughout the fight, Izzy's going to have him on the feet. He's so much more technical. He's just simply put one of the greatest strikers in UFC history. Gets caught in the second round, and ends up being a TKO loss for him. Now, I'm not going to sit here and act like the stoppage was the best thing I've ever seen in the world, but it's also not the worst. The big shot that rocked Izzy was the one that, got the biggest reaction from the official in the octagon. Izzy kind of rolled his head back and tried rolling around. I think Nasruddin hit like 2 actual follow-up shots, and at that point it was already being stopped. So that's where I'm like, it could have went on more, but had he not been hit by another barrage of shots, he could have been easily flattened out and just rear naked choked for giving up his back at that point. We would have seen the same thing like we had just witnessed with DDP. So I did have Nasruddin to win this fight. So pretty happy with my pick there. Not a lot of people did. I think in most polls, I was like less than the 20% quartile that actually picked Nasruddin to beat Israel Adesanya. I just thought that this would play out into the later rounds, and I had Nasruddin by a third round finish via submission. Because of the distance, not going under a round and a half in the heavyweight bout, and this one not ending via submission, big parlay that probably could change my life falls, but nonetheless, happy to have a card, second consecutive card of the year, and just excited to keep these things moving forward. I do have hope that UFC 312 is going to outdo this one because there just wasn't a lot to it. There was a couple good finishes, a couple okay performances, but otherwise very lackluster, and sad to see some of these guys just not pull it out of the fire when they were down 2 rounds and have anything to say in the third round. So that's my breakdown of this one. If you enjoyed it, give me a comment, likes, whatever. So appreciate it. Much love, y'all. Peace.